Nah, selanjutnya kita lanjut ke presenter terakhir atas nama Maryani dengan judul English Teacher Problems in Applying Online Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic in MAN 4 Banjar. Untuk Maryani saya persilahkan untuk presentasi dan untuk share screen.
Iya, terima kasih Pak. Pertama-tama apakah suara saya bisa terdengar jelas? Soalnya beda device ini buat share screen sama ngomongnya.
Bisa didengar jelas untuk suaranya.
Oke, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. But firstly, I would like to say that I make a several revision for the title of my PowerPoint, of my paper itself, and it is now turned into investigating the problem of teaching online by in-service teachers in COVID-19 pandemic. And there are 5 authors of this paper, and the first one is myself. And then there are Professor Dr. Fatul Muin M.Hum, Nasrullah MPDBI, Elvina Arapah MPD, and the last one is Emma Rosana Febrianti MPD. So as we know that we're now in a pandemic situation, right? And this pandemic is start in the beginning of 2020 and start in China in 2019. And because of this pandemic, all of our activities are affected, and every aspect of our lives are start to become work from home, and even the school are also start from home. And the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting most of the aspect in our lives, especially in educational system in Indonesia. And this is also where the tsunami of online learning is begin, where the traditional learning all of the method and this educational system turn into online, and the implementation of the online learning is to keep the teaching and learning process berjalan selama masa pandemi ini. And because of the phenomena, there are stated that there are some problems in teaching online that appear during the implementation of this method of learning itself. And for this paper, we, the author, use descriptive method with qualitative method, and we have 5 participants, and they are the in-service English teachers of MAN 4 Banjar who switched their class into online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. And the class has been running for about a year since March 2020 and until today. And the instruments that used in this paper is, the first is interview, and then close-ended questionnaire. And for taking the research data, we first distribute the close-ended questionnaire. After we gain the answer from the teachers, by the in-service teachers, we arrange a schedule for the interview to obtain the detailed information about the problems that appear during the application of the online learning. And for analyzing the data, I use Sugiono's method, which are, firstly, we register the data, and then we display the data, and after that we draw the conclusion from the data that we've obtained. And for the result of this research, they are categorized into 4. And the first is about the teaching time and duration during online English language teaching. In the interview, or participant mentioned that they're not sure about achieving the objective of the learning. The in-service teachers themselves is actually they can teach while having the online learning, but they're not really sure if the students can understand everything that they said. So this is So this this method, the online learning, is not really effective in their opinion, since they're also not really sure if the students really understand, because this method is this method didn't really deliver the lesson very well. And they also mentioned that they lack of time. They only have about 16 minutes for explaining the lesson. But when they're not in this pandemical time, they have about 19 minutes, and the schedules is also once in a week for for every lesson, especially including for the English. And for the result of the questionnaire, here they mentioned that they mention about the obtain that they able to obtain the learning objective during the online learning by about 16% from the strongly agree. And then they also mentioned that they have their teaching duration is around 2 until 4 hours per class, and in this point they disagree about the percentage of 18%. and and then in this point, for the teaching duration also, for the teaching duration, they said that they have fewer than 2 until 4 hours, and it is about 18%. As I mentioned before, that they only have about 18 minutes, yet before they have about 19 minutes of teaching time. and and also their teaching duration is much different. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And their current teaching duration is is the same, is not the same as the previous one, because it's not the same as the previous one, since they are disagree about 18%, that the duration is much different. And their previous teaching duration is about 2 until 4 hours that they mentioned here. They agree that their teaching time is around that duration for about 14%. And then the second point is about the in-service teachers' proficiency in English language teaching. In the interview, the participants of our research mentioned about how the process of English teaching learning is running itself. And they mentioned that they just jump to the explanation without any ice breaking because of the limited time. And also they need to wait for the students to come to the class. And after they explain the lesson, they're just, okay, that's all for today, thank you for your attention and such. And here or participants also mentioned that this method, the online learning, is not very effective, since the teachers is trying to prohibit the students to interact and berkumpul di tempat yang ramai untuk mencegah tertularnya COVID-19. And in their opinion, this method and this system is much better, and is still the best thing that they can do to keep the teaching and learning running during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And here, for the questionnaire, all of the in-service teachers mentioned that they implement the online learning during COVID-19 pandemic, and they are able to and they are able to teach in on by online learning, and they also use several materials to several online materials to teach their students, and they consider that online learning is an effective method. Yet they did met several problems in applying online learning. And then for the accessibility problems in online language teaching, luckily the in-service teachers that we yang in-service teachers yang menjadi partisipan dalam penelitian kami ini, their workplace facilitate them with several facilities that support them to keep the continuity of online teaching and learning, and also they're able to utilize and take the advantage of the provided facilities, and they also able to use various application and social media to interact with their students, since the online learning is the method that run through the internet. So they choose several specific application for teaching because it's convenience for them and easy to use. But and then here they also mentioned that they face several problems in using the application itself, not only in the teaching and learning process, but also the problems all came from the using of the application and software. And the last one, technical support during the application of online English language teaching. This is actually kind of similar with accessibility, since the school that the in-service teachers teach has um, has some guidelines to carry the learning in these pandemical times, and the lesson plan the way how they teach and such is already set by the school, adjusting to the pandemical era. And the school is also giving them internet data quota to support the teaching and learning, since not every of the students or even the teachers have enough money to buy quota. Moreover, the quota that needed in every lesson, it's quite a lot. Here it is. The institute of the workplace, the school, is provides the teachers with several facilities. They agree with that, since they're given guidelines and internet data quota that I've mentioned before, and they're also able to utilize the provided facilities, and they also can use the application that they for teaching and learning, and they use and choose specific application for it. And yes, they face several difficulties in using application. So I can conclude that there are 3 points that became the problems in applying online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. The first one is problems in online English language teaching. The second is problems in using software and application. And the third is problems from students' side. Since this research is about the teacher's perspective, so the teachers also mentioned that they face several problems from the students during the application of this learning system. And the first is problems in English language teaching. The first problems is the teacher's adaptability to use the newest version of the lesson plan and technology, since the differences mastery between one teacher to the other one, their adaptability is also various their adaptability is also various, and then during the lesson itself, the teachers got lack of feedback, and their hard they find it hard to evaluate the students, and then they admit that they got less interaction between teachers to students and students to students, since everything that they do is mostly is in one way interaction. So there very lack of interaction during the application of the online learning itself. And also the participants mentioned that the time become waste a lot while they're waiting for the students to join the class. The students sometimes coming late because of many reasons. So this has actually become one of the problems during the online ELT itself. And then the second, the problems in using and software. Since the interface teachers use various kinds of application, there are also many problems that appear during the usage of software and application in online learning. The first one is the one-way interaction via WhatsApp, and they need extra time to prepare the materials and lesson when they are having the, the online lesson, and then they need to manually accept students' requests when using Google Meet, and after that, after Google Meet, they sometimes also use Zoom Cloud Meeting, and in Zoom Cloud Meeting itself, there are limited usage time and annoying pop-up notification. And then, besides of that, they also use school e-learning, and in the school e-learning itself, there are many of incomplete and error application feature, and they sometimes fail when uploading teaching materials. And and in the e-learnings in school e-learning, they sometimes got interrupted by another teachers or students in the discussion session, because the discussion session is in public. And then for the and this is related to the proficiency. Some of the in-service teachers are still lack of proficiency in using the application's feature. And the last one is the problems that came from the students. This the in-service teachers also mentioned that the problems also came from the students, they are since of course the students is involved in the teaching and learning process. And the first problems and the main problems that came from the students is the lack of internet data package, and they sometimes also have a slow internet connection, and then limited access to internet because of the students' residence, the students who late to join to the class, as I mentioned before, and then the students who are disconnected from the class due to internet issue, and then students who late and slow response to the teachers, the students who late on collecting data assignment via application of school e-learning, and the last one is students who might have incompatible device which didn't support them to use several applications. And for the conclusion, it is found that the in-service teachers of Manumpat Banjar face several problems during the application of online learning in COVID-19 pandemic on English language teaching. As I mentioned before, there are three problems that become the major problems during the application of online learning. The first is the problems during the English ELT, during the online English language teaching. And the second one is the problems in using the application and software. And the last one is the problems that came from the students. Because of that, it is suggested for the in-service teacher to customize their teaching materials to become more appealing to the students, so the students will will be interested to learn, and they also need to adjust adjust the lesson with the current teaching time. And moreover, they also need to motivate and support their students by giving them a good mental support to study during the outbreak period. And for the school, the researchers recommend that to give the in-service teachers an intensive training on mastering specific application or software which used by the in-service teachers during the application of the online learning. So I think maybe that's all for me. Thank you so much for your guys' attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih dari saudari Maryani tadi atas presentasinya. Oke, karena tadi ada pertambahan waktu 15 menit, jadi mungkin ada sisa waktu kita sekitar 7 menit untuk diskusi atau tanya jawab. Jadi saya persilahkan untuk peserta seminar di room ini untuk bertanya. Saya mungkin karena hanya 7 menit, sisa waktunya saya beri kesempatan untuk 2 orang penanya atau yang memberikan saran atau dan yang lainnya. Saya persilahkan.